his knees.
Setting up here.
O thou preserver of men, even in complaint, Job uses a remarkable title. He still recognizes God as the sustainer of life. The relationship has not ended. The faith has not disappeared. The questions have multiplied, but the conversation continues. Job ends by speaking of forgiveness. Pardon my transgression, take away my iniquity. If there is something between us, remove it. If there is guilt, forgive it. For life is short, the grave approaches, and Job longs for peace. Before his days are gone, Christ connection. Job's longing for pardon anticipates one of the Bible's central themes. Human beings need more than explanations. They need reconciliation with God. Throughout Scripture, the deepest answer to guilt is not merely understanding, but forgiveness. Job senses that need long before he fully understands the situation.
Okay. I increased my Suno songs. I'm still on Job, but now I have it basically reading like the verses, and then it goes into like the song on like the footnotes, which is kind of interesting. I don't know. Makes it a lot longer. It's taking a long time that way. A lot of songs. Long playlists. They need longer playlists in Suno to accommodate my putting the entire book in it. All right, I'm gonna try to tune this thing. All depressed listening to Job. Now I'm gonna. All right, so I think I'm gonna try to do a similar thing. I'm as I think through like what I'm gonna do with my project. I feel like I'm kind of lagging on the project because I should start recording and whatnot and get back to work. But this is the brainstorm period, so I feel like it's worth. Might as well do it. So what I'm thinking is trying to kind of on the application side. So I thought I'd try to like use my template to brainstorm like kind of games that might be useful musically and or just interesting to play, and then I'll brainstorm that with Chachita and maybe Ara, and if Ara's working properly today, and then I think that's basically it. So I'm gonna warm up by I'm gonna go back to just warming up on like the Mixolydian node, maybe just more like bluesy kind of just a progression, because I was thinking I want to practice these bottom strings a little bit more, and I have this open G right there, so I'm gonna go like here back to here or here. That's where that the fifth second modal half step third is, the Mixolydian second modal half step third is Locrian, so that's where like the bluesy thing is, minor major, so the Locrian's on the major, and then I'll go to here, and then I've got this open G to play around with, and then this open B, which happens to be, again, that bluesy note because it's the major third, second modal half step third. And then as I do that, maybe I can kind of come up here more and play, because I was doing yesterday, if I have my finger right there, my pointer finger here, then I was kind of like, just like, what was I doing? I was playing this open G out. And then yesterday I was kind of working on, like, I keep on changing my hand. I probably could explain that a little bit. Like I was working on, because I'm trying to work it on rhythm down here, on these lower on the guitar strings, closer to the floor strings. And then I want to practice that. I like the rim shot, which I can kind of do down here. If I'm playing down here, that means I'm still holding on to my pick, but I'm gonna flick it with my middle finger here and see if I can hit that rim shot. So I just have to get the angle right. So if I'm picking, how can I get the angle right to hit that? Or possibly with my ring finger, right? With my ring finger. I can't, yeah. And then up here, I get that thumb shot. So it's kind of like, if I can get the back of my thumb where my pick is to hit there, I get that. I kind of like that every once in a while to get that in there. And then I was trying to do like the finger style guys like Marcian are doing rhythm right here. But they could do that with a downstroke without a pick because they have their finger out like this, I think is what they're doing. So that's what I was trying to do yesterday. But with a pick, then I could still keep the pick in my hand and do it with my ring finger, right? I could do it with my ring finger and try to get the downstroke to line up with a drum beat as I do a downstroke. It's hard to reach these bottom strings though. So then with a pick, you can actually do the upstroke. Because if your hand is open, you can't really do the opposite that way except with your thumb, right? I can do the down. But with a pick, it actually works. You can't really do the down with the pick because the pick is angled wrong. But you can do the up. So now that's what I was doing yesterday. You can kind of get a drum beat and go up, up. Oh, yeah. Okay. So those are like the rhythm things that I was kind of, maybe I'll noodle around with. All right. Warmed up, kind of. It's hot now. Now I'm hot. I got the air conditioning on. All right. Uh, so what I was thinking is now, I'm going to. I was thinking about how I can go around a circle on this thing that I was doing. Okay, so let me pull up my project, and then I'll try to speak Spanish a little bit to Chachita. I'll speak English. I'm gonna practice my Spanish. They speak Spanish. I'm gonna practice that at the same time because it's my practice session and whatever. Chachita, yo quiero practicar español en el forma de México. Quiero practicar en una forma que es muy casual, que con palabras que eran no están formal o algo así, porque quiero entender mis ojos, practicar con mis ojos, no lo sé. And I'm going to speak in English, you speak in Spanish, and we're also going to do the music theory thing as well. Do you understand? See if Chachita gets that. Chachita's pretty dependable these days. Aura's a little bit. That's because I'm using it different, though. I'm kind of cheating.
Sí, te entiendo perfectamente. Tú hablas en inglés si quieres, y yo te voy a contestar en español de México, de una forma relajada, como si estuviéramos platicando entre compas. Voy a usar palabras comunes que sí escucharías en México, no tanto español de libro. Y también podemos mezclarlo con tu sistema de teoría musical, modos, continentes, océanos, estrellas, rotaciones del planeta y todo eso. Si dices algo en inglés que suene raro en español, te puedo contestar naturalmente y de paso mostrar cómo lo diría un mexicano. Por ejemplo, tú, open quote, I'm trying to figure out how to move from Dorian to Lydian in my system. Close quote. Open quote. Ah, ya te caché. Entonces estás tratando de brincar de Dorian a Lydian dentro del mapa, ¿no? Según lo que hemos estado viendo, podrías girar el planeta 2 clics a la derecha y luego subir un nivel para caer en Lydian. La bronca es cómo mostrar eso visualmente en Excel sin que se vea demasiado enredado. Close quote. O si dices open quote, I don't know if this game mechanic makes sense. Close quote, yo podría responder, open quote. Pues la neta sí tiene sentido. Lo que todavía me causa duda es cómo le vas a enseñar al jugador hacia dónde puede moverse sin mostrarle todo el mapa de golpe. Close quote. Neta, honestly, really. Bronca equals problem. Enredado is complicated, messy. Ya te caché equals I get what you're saying. Compas. Buddies, friends. Así practicamos español real mientras seguimos desarrollando tu teoría musical. Échame tu primera idea en inglés y seguimos.
All right. Muy interesante. Let's try aura. I'm going to put auras in for the aura. Quiero practicar español en el forma de México en un estilo que es menos formal, no formal, muy informal. Y si es una palabra en español, no lo sé, pero yo hablo en inglés y tú hablas en español. Y también practicando músico, por favor, ¿entiende?
Órale, carnal, vamos a practicar en español bien chilango, bien relajado, como si estuviéramos en la calle echando la plática. Tú me hablas en inglés y yo te respondo puro español mexicano bien callejero, ¿sale? Si quieres, puedo tirarte un poco de slang. Órale, pues vamos a empezar con algo bien relajado.
What is
Imagínate
sale?
que nos
Sale
acaba...
is like sabe? You said sale.
No, sale en este caso no es save. En México usamos sale como decir ok, va, de acuerdo o está bien. Es como si dijeras cool o let's do it. Por ejemplo, cuando dije sale al principio, era como decir va o estamos de acuerdo. ¿Quieres que te
Sale.
explique más?
Nobody says like essay anymore, right? When I was going to high school, everyone I was called essay a lot. I've never understood that. I still don't really get it. Essay, does that have any kind of meaning? Essay. No.
Órale,
No?
es como un apodo.
Bro, okay. All right, anyway, let's go back let's see. What am I doing? I'm going to
¿Estás pensando qué decir, güey? No hay prisa, carnal. Cuando se te ocurra, nomás me avientas lo que quieras platicar y seguimos practicando. ¿Quieres que te tire una plática normal o prefieres que te pregunte cosas para que vayas respondiendo?
Okay, so I have my system set up, but Ara doesn't remember the prior conversations, whereas Chachita does. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of recap it, and then when I get to this point, what I'm kind of thinking is like how I could gamify this, and if I gamify it, I'm kind of thinking like what I can practice with at this point in time the way it is, which means I don't have any else to work on to build it, versus ideas of building it because I want to make like an Excel kind of project from it. I mean, I could do both, right? I could do like an Excel project to build it and then like a course on how to use it for different exercises from a music theory standpoint, but nobody cares what I say from a music theory standpoint. So I might get some, like I might be able to sell some courses on Excel. So I'm kind of thinking more on like the constructing of it kind of thing. So, but you know, so I'm trying to think like what once it's set up, like what you can do with it that's a little bit different than the normal than what's currently happening in like the music visualization, because I think what's happening is the current system is cool for good certain things, but you could visualize it different ways, and I think you would there's a lot of it seems like if I look at like the teaching styles in music, it seems like there's a lot of areas where they could, you know, look at it from different perspectives but they're not for whatever reason, which I think would actually advance your understanding or my understanding of the fretboard or whatever better. Does that make sense?
No entendí nada, güey. Estaba muy largo y muy enredado. Cuéntamelo más corto y directo, como si me estuvieras explicando rápido en la calle. ¿De qué estamos hablando exactamente?
Okay. That's what I'm talking about. I need to explain it from the ground up real quick. Quick recap. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is like if we had a MIDI roll, then the MIDI roll. Let me switch the views here so I can check this out.
Órale, ¿quieres que te ayude a
Okay, so the MIDI roll is typically x-axis time, y-axis in distance, and like octave distance packed in with the MIDI numbering system, basically. And I feel like that in the data input, we should be able to also assign, as we write the music or any piece of the music, the collection of notes as well as the modal center, allowing us to give us a numbering system that could be absolute for the modal point numbers, also allowing us to give us kind of a color system. And we can use a clock face system to name that, 4 o'clock being the collection of notes around the key of C, 3 o'clock being the collection of notes around B, 2 o'clock A sharp, 1 o'clock A, and so on. And then if we drilled on down onto any timestamp, similar to looking at like a software like a QuickBooks or something, like going from the financial statement reports down to the source documents or transaction detailed reports, we can then see a more detailed report where we can also do data input and change the view if we so choose, which has 12 units across the x-axis, and then MIDI note or octave on the y-axis, allowing us to pivot that view between the modal centers as well as between the collection of notes and then possibly bounce back to the first starting point collection of notes if we so choose, so that we can visualize it from different perspectives, having this view from a point as well as a distance notation. The point notation being the relative position notes, which are like what am I calling it? Modal points, as well as the note points. And then the distance notation is going to be we can map the same thing out, giving them a distant notation relative to one of the modal centers. This is where the modal center becomes quite important, meaning what's the tonic, so that I can measure everything within the collection as it relates to a particular tonic. And we can map that out. And then we can map out a 12 by 12 grid, which I'm thinking is the actual musical landscape for Western music, x-axis being half steps, y-axis being circle of fourths and fifths. And then we can map on top of that grid, if we so choose, a musical instrument such as the guitar, warping the shape of the guitar so that it will match the musical grid, and then adjusting the shape, if we so choose, to conform to the shape of the actual instrument, such as the guitar. When we do this, it lays on top the third dimension of the landscape, being octave height. And then I can toggle back and forth between view perspective here based on note number, a relative position, and distance notation as well. And so that's where I'm at. I know that was a lot. You're probably going to be like, that was too much, but that's the general recap.
Órale, ya te cachó, güey. Básicamente quieres un sistema que te deje ver la misma información musical, pero desde diferentes perspectivas: modal, por distancias, por tonos relativos, por el círculo de quintas, y poder pivotear entre ellas como si fuera una tabla dinámica de Excel. El concepto está chido. La idea clave que te traes es tratar la música como datos multidimensionales que puedas drill down y rotar la perspectiva. ¿Quieres que te ayude a empezar a estructurar esto en Excel o prefieres que primero te ayude a definir mejor los nombres y conceptos para que no se te haga tan enredado cuando lo expliques?
Okay, so that's the basic layout. So then what I'm thinking is, so now I'm kind of thinking, okay, on top of that, I was getting into this whole gameplay thing, like if it was a video game or something. Okay, wait a sec. So on top of that, I was getting into this whole gameplay thing to see if it was a video game, then I can actually drill down another layer, like when I go to the left and right and look at the third dimension of octave. But I think that's interesting to build from an Excel standpoint, but I'm kind of thinking about the other perspectives now, being that I'm thinking of the God's eye view, meaning if we're imagining this as like we're in space, and like we have the stars in space, and we've got the planet is like the fretboard, which could be mapped out, and thinking of it as a globe, which I think is good for visualization, but you can also think about it as just a flat space with the stars above it, and the two templates are moving, against each other. And basically, and so now then, if that's the case, there's three basic viewpoints that we can take. One being, I'm in space on one of the stars or whatever, which are represented by the fixed notes, and I'm looking down from that point on the globe, and then I can spin the globe to then map out what I want on the globe. So that would be kind of like you have a fixed like laser from space, and you're trying to draw something on the globe by being able to turn on and off the laser, or the beaming down like a dude digit, so that you could build a chord from one point in space, by rotating the globe around, and you just you Spock down, a dude digit so that then once you have 3 do digits, you got like you basically have like a triad but that you created from one beaming point in space. So you have that view, and then you have the view of someone on the terrain at one location. So now you're now moving around on the location on the grid, or you have a situation where you stay stable, or the situation where the grid moves and you move with it, which is the most complicated one to simulate with what I have thus far. Meaning, like if I say I'm on the grid and I'm moving on the grid and I keep it still, so now I keep the rotation at 4 o'clock or whatever, and then I move on the grid. Okay, that would be like this. But what I'd like to do is say this is on the Dorian node, like the Dorian continent, which is represented by that number 2. It might be easier, like with a Mixolydian, that is represented by the nodal point number 5. And then what I want to do is move, and then what I want to do is when I change the signature this way, I would like my guy to stay on continent number 5, which is now over here, right? I can't really do that. I can't really do that the way it's set up. I can't really say I want this thing to stick on that, tying it to that 0.5 when I change, because I'm changing like the things up here. So how would you, so that's the one that I'm not sure exactly how that would work.
Órale, ya te agarré. La parte complicada que traes es esta. Quieres que tu personaje pueda quedarse anclado a un modo específico, por ejemplo el Mixolydian, y que cuando tú cambies la tonalidad o gires el sistema, tu personaje se mueva junto con ese modo por el grid, sin perder su identidad modal. En otras palabras, no quieres que tu posición sea fija en el grid, sino relativa al modo que estás usando. La pregunta clave es, ¿quieres que te ayude a resolver cómo estructurar eso en Excel primero? Porque eso suena a una complicación de cómo relacionas las celdas y las referencias. ¿O quieres que te ayude a simplificar el concepto para que no se te haga tan cabeza antes de meterlo al Excel?
All right, I have an idea. Let's talk to Chatchita. Chatchita is more technically minded. All right. I have an idea here. On the one perspective that what I have set up that doesn't work that well is that like the perspective of like I'm on, let's say, the 5th fret up, 2nd or 3rd string down from the ceiling, which is a G at 4 o'clock, which means I'm on continent number 5, or the Mixolydian continent. Let's actually add, I'm going to add the mode. Can I add the mode letter? Will that screw things up from a color standpoint? If I add the mode letter. Oh no, that's the note letter. I want to add the mode letter. Boom. So now I have the mode letter. Does that mess up the color scheme? I don't think so. Okay, cool. So now I've got the 6 represents the mode as well as the small. So now, okay, let's do this again. Okay, so now I'm trying to figure. Okay, hold on. Stop stuttering. Deep breath. All right. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out like this. Okay, why can't I talk right now? Okay, I'm trying to figure out how this thing would work. Like if I'm trying to move the system. All right, that's not a good way to say it. Okay, I'm trying to look at the one way or game or point of view. Okay, I'm trying to look at the one point of view, which I think my worksheet is not great at doing. And that is, like, say I'm at 4 o'clock, collection of notes around the key of C. I just spit on myself. I'm on the 5th fret, 3rd string down from the ceiling, which is a G. And that happens to be a Mixolydian node at this point in time, which is represented by the X here and 5. both standing for Mixolydian. Okay, so now what I'd like to do is imagine the board moves. So now I'm gonna move or change the collection of notes. Maybe I move it up to 6 o'clock, 2 ticks to the right. Okay, but I would like my cursor to remain on the continent of continent number 5. So that doesn't work. It actually, what I have right now is the opposite, meaning if I put like an image above it, then it kind of looks like what happens is the world rotates under it. So now at 5th fret, 3rd string down, I've got the same G, but it has a Lydian underneath it now. So I'm trying to think about, like, what if I want to make like a worksheet that would allow me to stick on the continent, and the way to do that would be, instead of having these columns and rows up top that adjust so that the actual cell reference is still, in this case, OS 6. So whether I'm at 6 o'clock or whatever, I'm still at OS 6. What I need to do is have a system that when it moves to the right or the left, the actual whole thing moves to the right or the left, so that the thing sticks on it, I think, or something like that. What do you think? She gets it. Hold on, let's see.
Sí, creo que ya veo el problema. Estás hablando de dos marcos de referencia distintos y tu hoja actualmente está muy enfocada en uno de ellos. Ahorita tu hoja funciona más o menos así. El traste y cuerda son fijos. El planeta gira debajo. Entonces el G en quinto traste, tercera cuerda, siempre sigue siendo el mismo punto físico. Lo que cambia es qué continente modal está pasando por debajo de él. Es como poner una chincheta en un mapa y luego girar el globo terráqueo. Por eso, a las 4 Hewa Mixolydian, a las 6 He Lydian, a las 8 Hewa otra cosa. La chincheta nunca se mueve. Pero lo que ahora quieres ver es casi lo contrario. Quieres decir, open quote, no me importa tanto el G físico. Quiero quedarme parado en el continente Mixolydian y observar cómo cambia la nota física debajo de mis pies cuando gira el planeta. Close quote. En ese caso el continente es fijo y la nota cambia. Sería como si tú estuvieras parado en América y la Tierra girara debajo de las estrellas. Yo lo llamaría she, vista física, la que ya tienes. Fijo, traste, cuerda, nota absoluta. Variable, continente modal. Vista continental, la que te falta. Fijo, continente modal, 5, posición relativa dentro del continente. Variable, nota absoluta, traste, cuerda. Y creo que aquí está la clave. No necesitas mover el cursor. Necesitas mover la referencia. Por ejemplo, ahorita probablemente tienes algo así. You can see the code in our conversation history. Punto donde OS 6 siempre significa el mismo lugar físico, pero en la vista continental deberías tener algo más parecido a. You can see the code in our conversation history. O sea, el cursor sigue en la misma celda visual, pero la celda visual ya no representa quinto traste, tercera cuerda. Representa, open quote, posición Mixolydian number 5. Close quote. Y Excel calcula automáticamente qué traste y cuerda corresponden después de cada rotación. De hecho, creo que esto conecta con tu idea del videojuego. En el juego el jugador no diría, open quote, estoy en G, quinto traste. Diría, open quote, estoy en el nodo Mixolydian. Close quote. Entonces, cuando giras el planeta, el jugador sigue en Mixolydian, el terreno sigue siendo Mixolydian, pero las estrellas arriba cambian. Eso es exactamente la vista continental. Yo incluso probaría una hoja aparte. No tocaría tu hoja actual. Mantendría hoja A, vista física, el mundo gira debajo. Hoja B, vista continental. Tú viajas con el continente, porque sospecho que intentar meter ambas perspectivas en la misma cuadrícula va a volverse una bronca enorme de fórmulas. La pregunta que me haría es, open quote, cuando pasas de las 4 a las 6 y quieres quedarte en el continente 5, ¿esperas que Excel te lleve automáticamente a una nota distinta, quizás A, B o D según la rotación, ¿O esperas quedarte exactamente sobre la misma relación interválica dentro del continente? Close quote. Porque esas dos opciones producen dos diseños muy diferentes. Y creo que ahí está el siguiente paso del modelo.
All right, so let me think about this for a second. I'm not sure I am seeing this properly. So if I, so uh, uh, if this moves to the right, uh, like, so what was I thinking? So I want this thing to kind of move with it to the right. So that means that what needs to happen is this whole thing, when this goes to 6 o'clock, see, this needs to be over here. How would that happen, right? I mean, that would mean like the whole thing shifted, like this thing would have to shift over, like actually physically shift over relative to the absolute things at the top here. Is that possible? I don't know. I don't know. I was thinking I had something else I was thinking of. Let's see. So, like if I had the star's eye view, pull out a Word document, and let's say I had the star's eye view, could put this down here and say show tabs only. Here. Okay. So now what I'm thinking is like, okay. So what if I changed if I had the star's eye view of like this, let's say this Mixolydian, and I want to, or let's make it like this Aeolian, because I know the Aeolian. So I'm at 4 o'clock Aeolian, and then I'm like, one game would be like I want to make an A minor chord off of that one point from like space. So I would want to make an A minor chord, right? So it'd be like I need to make an A minor chord. Okay. So then it's like, okay, how would I do that like from space? Now, I think it would be better to name an A minor by relative position, which means it would be a Aeolian 2 chord. And the let me explain this to Ara. Let's turn Ara on. Okay, so now I'm changing to looking at it from the bird's eye view, and I'm thinking about a game that could be played just with what I currently have. And so one thing we could do is try to build a chord just from one single point in space. So let's say, for example, I'm trying to build an A minor chord. If I'm trying to build an A minor chord, then I could call that then an A2 chord. I could call that an A2 chord because I'm going to say that it's the Aeolian node, and I'm taking 2 modal whole steps from that point. I could also call it a 6-2 chord because it's an Aeolian node and then 2 modal whole steps. Or if I want to put the key signature 4:2, which I'm going to call 402 chord, meaning it's at 4 o'clock. Collection of notes around the key of C. I'm sorry, 4062. 6 is the Aeolian node, meaning the 6th nodal point, and 2 is the distance. I think that would be a more specific way to say it. But either way we do it, we could say, okay, how would we build that then? If I'm at the coordinate system, of like of A, which is the coordinates are the fret coordinates. Frets is 7 comma 3, meaning 7th fret up, 3rd string down from the ceiling, and it's an A, right? So then what I would have to do, like I can try to name the 3 positions. I would have to find the 3rd. Now, if I named it this way, it would be 6. So if on this position, I can imagine I beam down a do digit, like on this position, right? There's a do digit that I beam down there that sticks on that position. And then what would happen is I rotate the planet to get to the next note in the stack. So the next note in the stack, if I'm on nodal point 6, it's going to be 2 modal points up. So 6, 7, 1 would be the Ionian, which I can see. If I could see the fretboard, it would be over here. So then I could say, how could I beam down to that point if I'm only looking from space on this point? I would have to rotate the planet like up 1 tick and then 2 ticks to the right, right? Up 1 tick, 2 ticks to the right would be up 1, right? Up 1 tick. So now it's up here, and then 2 ticks to the right, 2 ticks to the right. So now there it is. Ionian is the 1 Ionian. Something's messed up when I do the upticks in my formulas though, because now the letters kind of messed up. I don't know why that exactly is, but do you see what I'm doing?
Sí, te entiendo, güey. Estás diciendo que quieres construir un acorde desde un solo punto fijo en el espacio, y para lograrlo tienes que ir rotando el planeta debajo del láser para que el láser vaya cayendo en las notas correctas del acorde. La idea es interesante, pero está muy complicada la forma en que lo estás nombrando con 624062, etc. Se está poniendo muy enredado. Pregunta directa. ¿Quieres que te ayude a simplificar todo este sistema de nombres primero para que sea más fácil de usar y explicar? Porque ahorita está muy pesado.
Let's see what this one says.
Sí, sí te sigo. Y está buenísimo porque ya cambiaste de ver el fretboard a jugar desde órbita. Lo que estás haciendo es esto. Estás parado en A igual a 7,73, 4S colección C nodo 6 igual a Aeolian. Y quieres construir A menor igual a menos CE. En tu idioma, 4062, 4 colección igual nodo 6. Aeolian igual a salto de 2 nodos cada vez igual a stack 6, 1, 3. Entonces el juego sería, bajo un monito en A, Aeolian 6. 2 para la tercera, necesito ir 2 nodos arriba. 6, 7, 1. Entonces giro el planeta hasta que el punto visible caiga en Ionian 1. 4. Bajo otro monito ahí. 5. Luego hago otro salto de 2 nodos. 1, 2, 3. 6. Bajo el tercer monito en Frisian 3. Eso te da el stack menor. 6 1 ACE. La idea está clarísima. La bronca de Excel probablemente está aquí. Cuando haces uptick, tal vez estás moviendo la fila visual, pero no estás actualizando igual la referencia de letra nota. O sea, el modo se mueve bien, pero la nota absoluta se está quedando con otra coordenada vieja. Yo checaría si tienes dos sistemas separados. Uno que calcula el modo nodo, otro que calcula la letra nota. Y cuando haces right tick, los dos cambian bien, pero cuando haces uptick, solo uno de los dos está obedeciendo. Eso suena típico error de eje. X está conectado y está medio desconectado. En términos de fórmula, necesitas que cada celda calcule algo como You can see the code in our conversation history, pero quizás tienes algo como You can see the code in our conversation history. Entonces al subir el modo cambia, pero la letra se descuadra. Para el juego yo lo pondría así. Misión. Construye a miner desde órbita. Código 462. Stack requerido 6 e 1 3. Movimientos visibles. Mes inicio 6. Mover a 1. Subir 1 tick. Más. Derecha 2 ticks. Mover a 3. Otro salto equivalente según tu mapa. Y el jugador no necesita ver todo el fretboard. Solo necesita saber. Open quote. Estoy en 6. Necesito caer en 1. ¿Qué combinación de ticks me lleva ahí? Close quote.
Okay.
Eso ya es juego.
Okay.
Es como navegación espacial.
So then I can't so then I beam a do digit down here, right? So then I can see that it would have to be at I beamed him down to the Ionian continent. And the Ionian continent that I beamed him down to the Ionian continent. I don't want a capital. Dang it. Pisses me off. Okay. The Ionian continent I beamed him down to was at what o'clock? It was at now 13 o'clock, which 13 minus 12 is 1 o'clock. So it's at 1 o'clock or collection at a major collection, right? A major from the perspective of the major. So then if I go back to like 4 o'clock, boom, right? So now that do digit is over here, right? Because I put him down in from space and now he's over there, right? And now I'm like, okay, now I need to pick up like the 5th. So the 5th, if this is 4th modal half step 5th, if this is number 6, 6, 7, and then around the horn 1, 2, 3 would be nodal point number 3. So the nodal point, I could see it if I can see the fretboard is right there. But in order to beam down my dude, I have to do it from this point. So that means that I have to move this up 2 ticks and then to the right 3 ticks, right? I have to move this up 2 ticks. Boom. See, now it's here. And then I go to the right 3 ticks. Boom. And that gets me to 21 minus 12 minus 12. So that means so it's 21 minus 12. It's at Ionian is at a B, which is 2 o'clock, right? I think that's 2 o'clock. So I could do it this way and say 4 minus, if I go to the left 2, would be 2 o'clock, right? 2 o'clock. So that would be Locrian. See, this is convoluted game. I'm just trying to. So then see, because then, wait a sec. I need to make it here. So I could go down one tick down would be -1. It's 11 o'clock. It's 11 o'clock that it would be 11 o'clock because this needs to be the Phrygian. So 11 o'clock. So then, which is the collection of notes around the key of G. So now I could say, like, if I had to pivot this around, the other one would be at, it would be a Phrygian, but it would be Phrygian at 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock. Or collection of notes around G, right? So that would be the, so I would have to get those coordinates in order to make this chord. And if I was making it just from this star above this point, I'd have to rotate. And this is, I know it's a confusing game. But I'd have to rotate. I'd have to beam a do digit down here. See, this would be the answer. See, I'd have to beam a do digit down here at 4 o'clock. And then I'd have to rotate it up 1 and over to the right, which would be, if I rotate up 1, that would be equivalent to, if I rotate it up 1, that's equivalent to 5 ticks to the right or 7 ticks to the left. So that would be 5 plus 4 is 9. And then over 2 gives me to 11. That gets me to 11 o'clock. Now I can see that more quickly because I could see, well, why don't I just rotate this one back 2 ticks? I could, or 3 ticks. I could rotate this back 3 ticks and get to the same spot, right? I could go like this one up 1 to here and then over 2 to the right to get to there, right? Or I could just say, why don't I just move this back 3 ticks? Meaning just go to the left 3 ticks. And I get to that same Ionian, and it actually works better because my formulas are properly formatted when I go that way. Up and down are messed up somehow. I'm gonna have to fix that. But so that why though? Because that's cheating. Because I can't, because then my do digit wouldn't be over here. When I rotate back, it would be over here. And that doesn't work because they would be on the same string, and I can't play a chord that way. I have to, so I have to play it where the A is the lowest. The A is the lowest. So you could say, yeah, well, how would you do that? You would just rotate this to place the one on the Ionian. You just rotate it to 2 o'clock. Or 1 o'clock by rotating this 3 to the left, but you can't do that. That would be cheating because then you're putting it on the same string. And so no, that would work if we're just talking about like a grid, but you have to do it this way because then you have to rotate it up 1 tick and then over 2 to the right, because then when you rotate it back, it would be properly lined up this way. All right, that's a complicated game. Let me see if I think this is, so I don't know how you would actually play it. Like, I feel like that would be a good game because it would actually teach you the rotation as well as the octave level and how you can kind of think about it moving around. And see, this is what I mean, like, that I don't think most music schools aren't really teaching like that way of moving the thing around in your mind. They're mainly thinking, well, if that's an A, what can you build on the A within a particular collection? They're not really thinking as much, how can you transpose the collection under what you're playing? How can you switch your mind from one perspective to the other, like rapidly, which I think would be quite useful. Like it could be quite, like it's something that's, but I don't know. Let me see. Let me try to say this to Chachita again. Does that make sense? Let's try this one more time. Let's try it again. Let me try to say it more succinctly. Okay, so I'm going to lay out the game. I'm going to try to lay it out as succinctly as possible. So what I'm going to do is we're going to say, okay, the challenge is you're on coordinate 4 o'clock. You're at 4 o'clock, and you're at 4 o'clock, and it's going to be a 4:06. I'm going to say, right? And okay, now I'm just babbling. I got excited. Let me try this here. Okay, here's the game. I'm going to try to say it succinctly now. So here's the challenge. We're at like 4:06 o'clock. Collection of notes around the key of C. 6 is the tonic that we're looking at. Coordinates on the fretboard are 7th fret and 3rd string down from the ceiling. Okay, and we need to make an A minor chord. Now, if I was going to make an A minor chord, I would rather name it. Aeolian 2 chord, because I think that's easier, or we can name it we can name it a 4:6:2 chord, a 4:06:2 chord, meaning 4 o'clock, and then 6 is the nodal point, and then 2 is the distance from it in terms of modal whole steps in the stack. 2 modal half steps to get to here, 2 modal half steps to get to here. Okay, so if we name it that way, why would that be better from a coordinate system? Because then you could say, okay, if I'm at the station hovering above the planet on the star of A, which is located specifically at coordinate 7, 7th fret, 3rd string down from the ceiling, how could I construct this chord from just that one perspective by rotating the planet underneath it? So you have to give me the coordinates of the as the planet rotates. Well, I could see if I'm on the Aeolian, I need to add the 2nd modal half step 3rd. So that's going to be 6 and then 7 and then 1 gets me to the Ionian. I could see the Ionian down here. One way to build it is the Ionian this way versus the Ionian down here possibly would work as well. But let's say I want that Ionian. Well, then I have to change the collection of notes, but I have to rotate it specifically, not just to give me an Ionian, because they're not all the same. The planet isn't completely symmetrical. It's different by the topology of the fretboard. Therefore, I have to move it up 1 tick and over 2 ticks rather than just moving it 1, 2, 3 ticks to the left, right? So I'm going to say, okay, I have to move it up 1 tick, and that brings it here. And then if I do the math on that, okay, if I take it up 1 tick, that's equivalent to 5 ticks to the right. So that's going to be 5 plus, I was on 4 o'clock, gets me to 11 o'clock, and then 2 ticks to the right. That's going to get me 11, 12, and then around to 1, 2 to the right. So that gets me to 13. 13 minus 12 is 1 o'clock, meaning collection of notes around A. So that means, so to do that, I'm going to have to put a do digit at 4 o'clock, at 4:06. Can I say 4:0? I'm going to have to put a do digit down at 4 o'clock, right? And then I'm going to have to put a do digit down, and then I'm going to have to go directional up 1, and then right 2, and to get to 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock, which is a collection of notes around the key of G, right? And then I would need to go, to get to this one, I'd need to go up 2 ticks and over 1, 2, 3. Now I could just go 1 tick down to get to the same collection, meaning because I could go 1 tick down, right? That would be the fastest way to get there. But to get the do digit on this specific position, I'd have to go up 2 ticks. So I'd have to go up 2. So then I'd have to go up 2 and then right 3. And that should get me the same equivalent as bringing this down 1 tick, which would be, if I go down 1 tick, that's equivalent to 7 ticks to the right or 5 to the left. 5 minus 4 is -1. -1 minus 12 is 11. That's going to get me to 11 o'clock. So that's going to give me 11 o'clock, right? Something like that. That's a little bit more succinct. Let's see what ChatChita has to say about that. All right. Let's do it. It's a complicated game. A lot of ins, a lot of outs. No one's going to be into that, man. I feel like you should be able to trim it down somehow. Like if you gamified it, then you could do it because then you wouldn't have to do the math and give me the answer with coordinates. You could just say, okay, go up one tick, beam the guy down, and then he would stick to that point, you know? And then you'd go back and then that thing would be over here and that's how you'd build it. But like I can't do that in Excel as far as I know right now.
Sí, ya se ve el juego mucho más claro. No es encuentra un acorde en el diapasón, sino desde una estación fija, rota el planeta para depositar cada dedo nodo correcto. Sí, exacto. Te estás acercando a una mecánica bien concreta. El juego sería Misión Construir a Minor. Código 4-6 o más fácil, Aeolian 2. Eso significa, inicio 4 o'clock, nodo 6, nota a coordenada física del traste, 3ª cuerda. Stack modal. 6-1-3, Aeolian, Ionian, Phrygian, ACE. La clave buenísima que dijiste es esta. No basta con decir, open quote, necesito Ionian, close quote, porque hay varios Ionian visibles posibles. La topología del fretboard importa. Entonces el jugador tiene que escoger el Ionian correcto, no cualquier Ionian. Ahí nace el juego. La instrucción no sería solo, open quote, ve al nodo 1, close quote. Sería, open quote, desde 406, deposita el segundo dodicit en el nodo 1 correcto usando coordenadas de rotación. Close quote. Entonces, primer dedo por dodicit, depositar en 406. Segundo dodicit para llegar al Ionian específico, sube una tick más derecha 2 ticks. Y si tu regla es subir una tick o a más 5 posiciones de reloj, entonces 4 más 5 a 9 más 2 a 11. Entonces, ojo, ahí creo que tal vez hay un desajuste en tu cuenta, porque tú dijiste que subir 1 desde 4 te lleva a 11. Eso sería si subir una tick vale más 7, no más 5. Entonces necesitas fijar esa regla. Menos si up 1 o a más 5, entonces 4 o 9. Si up 1 o a más 7, entonces 4, 11. Ahí puede estar el error de Excel también. La hoja tal vez está usando una conversión y tu cabeza otra. Para el tercer dodígit, haces lo mismo. Desde el nodo 1 quieres llegar al nodo 3. 1, 2, 3. Pero otra vez no quieres cualquier Phrygian. Quieres el Phrygian que corresponde al voicing posición específica del acorde. Entonces el comando podría ser dodígit 1, 4, 6, dodígit 2, U1, R2, nodo 1, dodígit 3, U2, R3, nodo 3. Y la hoja debería validar, open quote. Estos tres depósitos producen 613 dentro del mismo stack Aeolian 2, close quote. Sí, acorde construido. La frase importante sería, open quote, el acorde no se construye moviendo la mano primero. Se construye rotando el planeta para que la estación fija vea el siguiente nodo correcto. Close quote. Eso está muy chido. Es como control de misión modal.
try it. Let's try the joke. I think let's try the joke. Joke break. Let's see. All right. The buzzword is always the boots on the ground. That's always the buzzword. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It's one of those words again. I'm not sure it has any meaning anymore. It's just like, it's almost like, it's almost like one of those words. Like, it's like you just can't say it. Like if you say it, then everybody cringes as though you know. So it's I don't know. I'm not sure it actually has. I'm not sure it actually has meaning anymore. It's like gotten to that point. So anyway. People keep asking me whether I'm in favor of boots on the ground in Iran or not. And it's like compared to what? Alternatives with crazy Democrats may be like bare feet on the ground. I wouldn't be surprised if they sent them in with bare feet on the ground. Have you ever stepped on a Lego? Now imagine stepping on Iran. I'm not some warmonger here. I'm actually very anti feet on ground. Boots on the ground, tolerable. Feet on the ground, absolutely not. It's hot out there. It's hot. The sand will burn your tootsies right off. That's where I draw the line. The red line is being drawn. Every time I hear somebody say, quote, no boots on the ground, end quote, I'm thinking, okay, but what are we replacing them with? Are we replacing them with Crocs on the ground, sandals on the ground, flip-flops on the ground? Have we learned nothing from history? Keep your socks dry. Keep your socks dry. Then you know the Democratic, politicians would immediately try to spend like the sending out troops barefoot. They'd start defending it and using it in some kind, however way they could spin it, to put it in their political favor. They'd be like, these brave service members don't need boots, they'd say. Why are we spending billions on military footwear when that money could be spent elsewhere, most likely very ridiculously? Let's use California as an example. We could use it to drain the water out of the reservoirs so that people can't park by the fire hydrants just because. It's just like a thing. We just don't like people. We like to have these little things that stick up out of the ground that you can't park next to, even though there's no water in it. And suddenly some congressional committee is explaining why the boot budget got redirected to the Department of Advanced Interpretive Gender Studies and Sustainable Feelings. I mean, it's like, then imagine these guys like a Bernie Sanders running, like if something actually terrible happened, like you're in like a D-Day situation, and you got like Bernie Sanders or AOC, like the squad is in charge. I mean, this is like, we're like close to this, even worse than that. You've got Gavin Newsom in there. That would be like a worst case scenario. And if then imagine like you got a D-Day briefing if handled by the modern Democratic Party. They go Bernie Sanders or AOC leading the way. Men, tomorrow we storm the beaches of Normandy. Can you imagine these? I mean, sir, where are our boots? Where are our boots, for crying out loud? Congress has concerns about the boots, I've got to say. About the boots? No, about the funding priorities at this point. So where did the money go? Well, you don't even want to know. We're not even going to get into it, okay? But it was important. Sir, we're literally invading like France barefoot. Is that what's happening? Yes, but according to the report, morale is up. Of course, that's fake news, but, people like to have shoes. But anyway, people ask where the red line is. It's simple. Boots on the ground, maybe. Bare feet on the ground, never. We need to have, I don't know enough about geopolitics to solve the Middle East, but I know enough about rocks to know that you should wear shoes, okay? We can all agree. I feel like we could find common ground, and we can all agree. We should all be able to agree on that. Anyway, I don't know.